Look, the fact of the matter is this: if you now pick up wins against the smaller sides, you put yourself in a great position for a title run, because Inter beaten, Roma beaten, Napoli beaten, Bologna, Fiorentina unbeaten against Atalanta and Juventus, both away from home. You have now done the hard part, guys. Now win against the smaller teams, and you never know what might end up happening this season. And I'm gonna give my 4 takeaways from today's match. You guys know how this works: green boxes for good performances, red boxes for bad ones. And the first takeaway from today's match, this one's gonna be a green box that goes out to Maignan. This was arguably his greatest performance in a Milan shirt. If you look at the stops that he made in the first half, and then you look at the penultimate stop he made in the second half to keep this team in the game. You know, what has been happening with Milan recently, dropping points against the smaller sides, you know, you can be on a run where you beat the top teams, but then when you drop points against the smaller sides like we did right before the international break, it sort of sends you into the break with this pessimism. You risk losing that optimism, that fire in you that makes you believe that, you know what, yes, we're gonna go for a title run, because you drop points in those smaller games. So for this team to actually come back in a pretty tough match, I mean, if you look at the odds, what they were before the game even started off, Inter were heavy favorites in a home game today. And if it wasn't for the stops that Maignan made, it could have made for a pretty heavy scoreline for them. Probably already in the first half, they could have been 2-0 up. I think Pulisic rightly said that Maignan is actually the MVP for today's game because of the stops that he made. You know, that stop initially that he made against Thuram's header, then Lautaro Martinez was left completely unmarked. That stop Maignan made, but that penalty stop in the second half. Now in quick succession against big sides, the side that is above you right now in Roma and the side that is below you in Inter, Maignan has made consequential penalty stops that have literally resulted in this team walking away with 3 points. And I think that opens up this whole situation into a more important conversation as to what happens with Mike's contract, because I'll be honest, you know, I won't say too much, but I am aware that this negotiation is tough. Finding an agreement between the club and the player is going to be tough. You know, there's a possibility that Maignan, you know, Mike could also just want to change his scenery. You know, he's been here for about, 5 seasons now? So it is very much possible that the player could just want to change his scenery. He's not even looking to, you know, renew his contract. But you would assume that the roadblock is actually coming up with that, you know, that dollar amount where they can actually find an agreement. The thing that I would say to Milan's management at this point in time, especially seeing his performances this season, pay the guy. Why would we go through the process of finding a goalkeeper and seeing, you know, how that works out when you have a player like Maignan already here? He's been here for 5 years. He understands the culture. He's won a title. He's clearly the leader on this team. I've talked to multiple players about, you know, that leadership role and who actually holds that role, and almost all of them resoundingly have said it's Mike. And the biggest thing is he's playing lights out, man. He is fulfilling his responsibility to the top level. I would just say pay the guy, keep him here. Don't start the process of looking for a new goalkeeper. You have one of the best and elite goalkeeper in your squad. And if we're looking to build a team for the future that competes in top tournaments like the Champions League, fights for the Scudetto season in and season out, then Mike is the kind of player you definitely want in your squad. And I gotta say, as I just said, one of the best performances Maignan has ever put in a Milan shirt, so that is definitely worthy of a gold box today. And the second takeaway from today's match is going to be a green box that goes out to Adrien Rabiot. Look at the balance of the team. The moment this player comes back, the moment Pulisic comes back, this is how much this player was being missed. But the piece to actually keep in mind is that even in his absence, this team was able to extract some important results, like the one against Roma. So there is something in this team that makes you believe that they have the depth in their midfield to be able to, you know, make a run for it this season. But just having Rabiot back in a consequential game against Inter, and you know, this is a player that we historically know that he loves playing in competitions like this. He loves going out in a derby fixture and, you know, showing off his qualities. He's done it time and again with Juventus, so he's used to this pressure that comes with playing against Inter. For him to step into today's game after having a long run with an injury issue, coming back in and maintaining the kind of quality that he has shown in the beginning phase of the season is exactly what Allegri needed. There's no question about the fact that with Rabiot gone, there was also an added pressure on Fofana for his performances. With Ricci coming in, there was a lack of stability that you felt that existed in Milan's midfield. That midfield battle was easier won today because of Rabiot's presence, and that's why he gets a green box. And the first shout out from today's match, I'm going to give the shout out to Youssouf Fofana. Look, the thing is, this player has faced a lot of criticism. He's faced a lot of criticism from myself included, and rightfully so. I mean, this is not exaggerated criticism. The player was not playing that well, but as I said, with the return of Rabiot, you felt like there was a calmness that was brought about even for Youssouf Fofana. Now, he did make some mistakes in the first half, and, once again, he took those shots that, went into row Z. But the problem that was solved today with Rabiot's presence was there was a calmness to the way that Fofana was playing as well. And there was a massive moment, that goal that was scored by Milan when the ball was won by Fofana, and then he was given back to him, and then he's distributed it out on the right flank to Saelemaekers, and he's the one who took that shot. So Fofana certainly fulfilled, especially in the second half, the role that he was actually given. I mean, there were still moments, even in the second half, around the 68th minute, where I wrote down, don't shoot, create something instead. I did feel like that, even sitting at the stadium, that this pressure of having to score. I think I misquoted it. I said 15 goals for Fofana alone, or 10 goals for Fofana alone. I think the coach's comment was that he wants 10, 15 goals from Fofana and Ruben Loftus-Cheek combined. But I think that pressure has to be taken off of him. I think we can very clearly see that this is not a player that's going to be able to replicate the role that Reinders was playing last season, making those late runs into the box, and maybe Loftus-Cheek was playing the season before that. I don't think Fofana is that guy. I don't think he should have that pressure of having to score goals, because I feel like at times he's actually forcing it a little bit. I think he's trying too hard to score a goal, and he's maybe sometimes not seeing opportunities that are available. And that is how I felt in the 68th minute, that moment he didn't really need to go for the shot. He could just create something for a teammate instead. So that pressure of having to score a bunch of goals this season, I don't think that should be on Fofana at all. He needs to play a balanced game. He needs to be a provider. He needs to help create, push the ball up forward. He has the strength and the physicality like Loftus-Cheek to just be able to penetrate and move forward and be solid defensively. I don't think he needs to worry about scoring goals, to be honest. In my opinion, it was still a good performance from him, so I'm going to give him a shout out, especially because this player has been heavily criticized in the recent past, and when he puts in a good shift, I'm going to call that out. And the next shout out from today's match is going to go out to Alexis Saelemaekers. Once again, a player that proved yet again how heavy his work rate can be and how much that can actually help out the team. I don't think it was necessarily his best performance, but I just think this is a player that is offering you that solidity on the right. You don't really think about who's going to be playing on the right flank. There's still some question marks about the left flank. Is it Estupiñán? Is it Bartesaghi? I think Bartesaghi is making a good case for why he should continue to be starting. But on the right flank, you don't have to worry about that. Saelemaekers is one of the first players on the team sheet. And, talking about Fofana right now, I think he's got to see what Saelemaekers was doing. It wasn't always trying to go for the top corner, trying to hit it hard. Even from that distance, he just went for the right positioning. I don't think that was very good goalkeeping from Sommer, to be very honest. But I think it was Marcus Thuram that came out and said that alongside Real Madrid, AC Milan is the best counter-attacking team. When they're actually on a transition, when they're on a counter-attack, they're arguably the best team in all of Europe alongside Madrid. I'm not sure if that's true or not true. I guess you guys can debate that in the comment section, but I can confirm for you for sure that is true, is that Saelemaekers is a crucial piece to those counterattacks. And for being that threat in attack, especially when this team is playing on the counter, is a key reason why he gets a shout out today. And the third takeaway from today's match is going to be a green box that goes out to the goal scorer and Christian Pulisic. Probably the best part about today's derby, on a personal note, is the fact that I was able to interview Pulisic after the game was done today. And I asked him a very creative question. I said, how are you feeling? And he said, pretty good after what happened today. And at this point in time this season, Pulisic has played, I believe, 9 games, and he has 9 goal contributions. This is how much these two players were really missed in those games that Milan dropped points, like the game against Pisa, like against Parma. These are the games you miss players like Rabiot and Pulisic, because this is how impactful they can be. They come back after a long stint with injury, and the first game that they come back, both of them leave their mark. Rabiot in a more intangible manner, doesn't, get on the score sheet, but he does his job to the best. And then Pulisic, just once again, this guy's like a goal magnet. Somehow, some way, every time there's an opportunity to score a goal, he just finds himself in that position. Even in the first half, that was a really good chance for him. He curled the ball right around the goalpost. The crazy part is that obviously he has been out with injury. So this is not, I'm not referring to that in that sense, but it has almost been 2 months since he scored a goal. So when I think about that, and I think about him saying, pretty in the conversation with me, pretty good after what happened today, I kind of get what he means. It's not just about, being back on the field. It's also about the fact that he hasn't scored a goal in 2 months. It's weighing on you as a player as well, that it's been so long that you've scored or, been given that consistent time to play because you've been out with an injury issue. And the thing is that he's always involved in all the attacks with intensity, with purpose. This guy's always on top. It's not coincidental that he keeps finding himself in a position to be able to score a goal. It's because he's always so aggressively involved in the attacks that he just increases his chances of being able to score. If you don't have intensity, if you're not going to work really, really hard to be able to score a goal, you're going to find yourself in positions where you're not even going to be close to goal. But when you have that fire, that work rate to want to score a goal no matter what, you put yourself in positions where you get easy tap-ins at times. And that's what happened today. A solid performance for Pulisic that deserves a green box. And the final takeaway from today's match is going to be a green box that goes out to Max Allegri. I have to give it to him. When he signed on to be Milan's coach in the summer, and, you guys can even maybe go watch my preview about or reaction to him becoming the coach of Milan. I spoke about this on multiple live streams, and I gotta say, I was ridiculed by some fans that were watching because I would always say that this is exactly what you have to prep yourself for. And this is not even breaking news. This is not some serious research that is required from my part. This is what we know about Max. It's just that I believe there was a section of the fans that didn't believe that it was actually going to pan out to be this way. But this is what I said. Get ready for a bunch of hard-fought, slim scoreline wins. Get ready for a bunch of, 1-goal margin wins where the focus is going to be on defense. You scrape away with that 1 goal and you pick up the 3 points out of nowhere. Just look at these stats, guys. 64% possession for Inter. So they dominated when it came to, holding on to the ball. But even if you look at the XG, 1.6 for them, 1 for us. They hit the goal post multiple times today. Total shots. Just look at that. 20 shots. Milan had 7 shots. 6 on target. They still couldn't score a goal. They had a penalty and they couldn't convert that. Big chances, 2-1. Corner kicks, 9-1. And you look at this Inter side. They are very dangerous on set pieces. They're extremely dangerous on corner kicks. They didn't convert any of them. And this is all once again happening because of this coach. Because his backline still is the same. It's the same Mike, Tomori, Gabbia, Pavlovic backline. And a massive amount of credit for that stability in the backline has to go out to our coach because he is pulling off the exact results that I talked about over the summer. Bologna-Milan, 1-1 goal. Napoli-Milan, 1-1 goal. Fiorentina-Milan, 1-1 goal. The win over Roma, 1 goal. The win over Inter, 1 goal. This is what this coach does. He finds a way to scrape away wins. And somehow at times, he finds a way to scrape away wins that can get you a title. At this point in the table, Milan are 2 points off the top spot. And outside of the goal scorers, the stops by Maignan that have been made this season, the impact of Modric and Rabiot, the chunk of credit for this season goes to our coach. And if this team is to make a run for the title, they have to find their killer instinct when it comes to playing against smaller sides. I think adding that killer instinct on top of what Max is already doing will make this team a huge contender this season. And you guys let me know in the comment section, does today's result now make you once again believe that this team can, make a title run? Because you beat Inter today, you start believing. But the last match, you drew against Parma, you stop believing. The match before that, you win against Roma, you start believing. The game before that, you draw against Pisa, you stop believing. I just think it's been such a stop-start campaign. We're still not getting beaten. We're still winning or drawing. But it's the lack of consistency is what makes us question if this team can actually win the Scudetto this year. But again, you let me know in the comment section, did today's win change that belief for you? Make sure if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter @FootballKush. And as always from my side, Forza Milan. Grazie mille. Ciao tutti. The issue was money. A generational goalkeeper saw his nickname amongst Milan fans change from Gigio to Donnarumma. And to remind him of their dislike towards him, Milan fans at the San Siro showered the Italian with fake dollars in his first match back at their stadium.